Welcome everyone to the Sustainable World Kitchen Culinary Stage, Sweet Endings, the Dessert Flip, Three Pleasures, and Other Disruptions in the Pastry. During this session, you can optimize your view by double-clicking on the PowerPoint window to see the presentation at maximum size. Our moderator, Anne McBride, will be joining us in just a bit. In the meantime, it's my pleasure to welcome back to the stage Dr. Walter Willett, Professor and past Chairman, Department of Nutrition, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health.
Thank you, Patricia. If I could have my first slide, this would be good. And I'm going to start off giving a little bit of information about the nutritional science of desserts. That this first slide represents a summary by colleagues in Germany of 66 different randomized studies looking at the short-term metabolic effects of different food groups. This included changes in blood cholesterol, blood pressure, blood lipids, blood glucose, inflammatory factors. And then they ranked these different food groups by their effects on these short-term indicators. As you can see, the best food groups were nuts, legumes, whole grains, fruits and vegetables. Of course, fish came in there. And the worst were animal source proteins, dairy, particularly dairy fat, and sugar-sweetened beverages. And the problem is, of course, that after you've gone to a restaurant or a food service and you've had your wonderful, healthy, sustainable, plant-forward meal, out comes the dessert menu. And that includes most of the things at the bottom of the list. Lots of refined starch, sugar, unhealthy fats. And that can undo with 600 or 800 calories all the good you have done for yourself and the planet with your main entree and your main meal. So this is what the short-term studies show. The next slide, please. In the longer-term studies, the long-term epidemiologic studies, we see very similar kinds of effects. For example, this is a relation between nut consumption and risk of coronary heart disease. With increasing nut consumption, a lower risk of coronary heart disease. This has been replicated in many different studies. Next slide, please. This is the summary of many different longitudinal studies, prospective cohort studies, looking at chocolate intake. And we see with 2 to 3 servings a week, lower risk of coronary heart disease. If you eat more chocolate every day, we don't see much further benefit of that, but it doesn't look worse. So chocolate, in moderation at least, can be considered among the healthy foods. And for fruits and vegetables, we see similar, very consistent findings across studies with higher consumption related to lower risk of not just heart disease, but total mortality and many other benefits as well. Next slide, please. Therefore, it did occur to me that this kind of dessert, the usual dessert with lots of refined starch, sugar, and unhealthy fats, wasn't really necessary. We could put together healthy ingredients to make really health-promoting desserts, and specifically desserts made out of nuts, fruits, and dark chocolate. And you can do this in many thousands of different ways. So some friends and myself decided we should call this 3 pleasures. Sounds a little seductive, but you can have something that's really satisfying and enjoyable based from those ingredients. So I made this little business type card called 3 Pleasures. And the way we use it is that we hand this to the waiter or waitress and say, I'd like to request a healthier dessert featuring a combination of 3 pleasures: nuts, fruits, and dark chocolate. Nothing more. And that nothing more is important. You don't want a lot of unhealthy things added to that. And we've received really tremendous creative kinds of desserts that way that are fun. Of course, I think really good chefs will like this little bit of a challenge, and many of them have gone all out to put something enjoyable and wonderful on our plates. And I would note, this card is available on our website at Nutrition Source. You can see the way to get to it there, and you can print these out and make your own cards to hand out. Of course, what we really would like is that you don't have to request the 3 pleasure item, that it should be part of every dessert menu. Next slide, please. In fact, we I created a little bit of a competition here in combination with National Geographic to challenge on social media different people to submit their 3 pleasure creations. And we got from around the country, around the world, many great, wonderful examples. You can see just a few of them here. Ken Toon will talk about some other ways of putting together healthy desserts. You can add a little whole grain consumption here. And I should add, there's a 4th pleasure that does add a little bit of special treat. You dribble a little bit of spirit on top of the 3 pleasures, a little bit of bourbon or something like that. So I'll look forward to having Ken tell us about some of the things he does.
Thank you so much, Walter. And any questions you have for Walter, for Ken, and for Tavel, our 3 presenters today, please put them in the chat and we'll have time for questions at the end. So Walter, we'll see you again in a few minutes. And our next presenter is Ken Tung, the Executive Director of University of Massachusetts at Amherst Auxiliary Enterprises. And in normal times, UMass Dining is the nation's largest campus dining operations, with over 25,000 students on various meal plans and serving over 50,000 meals daily. Of course, I imagine that looks differently right now. Hi, Ken. Welcome.
Hi, and nice to be here, and just a beautiful day from Amherst. I just want to follow up. Dr. William mentioned about the 3 pressure, and then talk about I call it dessert flip side of the indulgence, right? And then next slide, please. Yeah. This is a beautiful campus, and yeah, this is one talk about this. What's the flip side of the indulgence? We talk about small portion. We talk about lots of fresh food, and also alternative sweeteners. Rather than always add lots of sugars and whole grain, alternative flours, and also just learn some of the options we have here. And this is a beautiful one. I love this lemon cheesecake using tutti rather than regular dairy cheesecake. And then that the strawberry soup is actually bigger size than the main items. And also one of the portion important to do is make your small items, your main item, about no more than 2 ounces as possible. And also of course, nut component as well. And then the cost is about 20 cents more or less. Next slide. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. This is authentic, international, it's nafnate with the fresh food and whole wheat pepita crumble. As you can see, this is with the Greek yogurts, and then top off with blueberries and fresh peaches, and also with crumbles, pumpkin soup crumbles. And this is so light, so healthy, and not much any sugar at all, and great for breakfast. In fact, Chef Adams, creator of these many desserts, this is breakfast items. And look at the calorie, look at the fat content, very good. And I recommend this to everyone. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is another way to look at while I'm using the regular flowers. We propose look at some of the flowers that are like oak flowers and peanut flower and so on. And again, there's 3 treasure, right? You have this chocolate, about 1.5 ounce. You have fruit, which you can compost, and then you have almond on top. How beautiful they are, and then very popular among our students. This is one that who doesn't like brownie, right? Next one. Yeah, this is one that students just love this one. First look at this one here is you can see is from the things like cupcakes, red velvet cupcake. Ever love it? For 1 ounce, and then and the other size of the fruits is about 1.5 ounces, and serving next to the lemon bar, basically lemon juice, and so on. And look at how beautiful they are and very easy to eat. I think important for a business to make sure that food tastes good, good for you, and also support the environment as well. You know, we use as much local as possible, and then keep the just small indulgence. You know, that sweet endings is so important to our customer. I think that's very important to us. Next slide. Yeah, this is, I gotta confess, this is one of my favorite, you know, and then you have this chocolate, you know, dark chocolate, and then you have loads of blueberry and strawberries, and a little bit of coconut sugars on top. And this is this a combination of both. Again, you know, it's very healthy, very popular among students. And then we usually, you know, pretty much every time we put our students just come back to take it and consume them as much as possible. And we try to limit them one plate per person. So, next one. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, this is something that we talk about. What's the future research? You know, we have a great pastry chef Adam here. We follow the menu chain healthy principle. Look at the authenticity, you know, and then look at this eclair on the right-hand side, top side, and red beans, you know, and then no sugar at all, and then vegetarians, and then that is one of the student favorite too. And then as always, you know, authentic. You know, red beans you can mix so many things out of red beans, and also good protein at the same time. And then we also look at most of our heavy cooking into yoga, you know, more plant-forward alternative, I think important for us. And also sometimes you look at more than just whole wheat flour, look at ancient grain flours and the nut flour as well. And then sugars, and we try to stay away using too much sugars, and using local honeys, you know, maple sugars, and also using, and those are important for all of us, you know. And then last, I have slides so quickly is, do I have one more slide here?
One more slide, yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is who doesn't like warm chocolate cookies? This is one that we work with supply chain to make sure we do portion size. And second, again, from half of portion size, also help us reduce the sugar components, less sugar, but still tastes good. And also local pound as well. That's all I have. Thank you, Anne.
Great, thank you so much. And the key with those is to then not eat 2 of those reduced-sized cookies, right? Because
right, only allow one at a time, you know. And so this picture of our Pan Adams, and I'm glad to be able to showcase some of her creations.
And you'll rejoin us again at the end also for questions in a few minutes. So if you have questions for Ken, please put them in the chat. And I mentioned that in the chat also, I'll repeat it verbally. You can double click on the window, on a window to see it bigger on the screen. So for the PowerPoints, for the videos, if you click on that, you'll be able to see it bigger. And of course, all of the presentations and the upcoming recipe are posted on the website also. Our next presenter is Tavel Bristol-Joseph, the pastry chef and partner of Emmer & Rye, Hestia, Calimocho, Henbit, and TLV in Austin, Texas, and one of Food & Wine's best new chefs of 2020. And we should give him a round of applause in the chat because he did not get the party he normally would have for that. So,
all right, thank you.
Congratulations on all of your achievements, and we're honored to have you.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I'm very happy to be here.
And so you'll be showing a video shortly, but start by telling us a little bit, what is your approach to desserts generally?
Yeah, well, my approach to dessert, it comes from a very emotional place. So I'm an emotional creator where I see something and how it made me feel is how I would like to create so that someone else can feel that emotion that I felt at that moment. So most times emotional creators, it takes a longer time for them to create because you have to be in the right state of mind to accept to invite in any type of new possibilities. So I'm definitely that very emotional. You can say an emotional person.
And so I guess emotions drove the creative process of this dessert that we're about to see.
Absolutely, because it's summertime and there's so much. It's probably that and spring. They're like my favorite seasons when it comes to creating food that is available, that I know it's good for our bodies, and it's bright, it's vibrant, it's colorful, it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time for me. So this dessert was basically, it's squash season right now. It's fig season right now. Avocados are probably on their way out, but they're still here. So I just wanted to create something that represents our season and just kind of showcase that in the most beautiful way, but yet still it tastes amazing.
So let's roll the video and you'll describe what we're seeing as it goes. And
yeah, absolutely. So here we're going to start with the zucchini cake. So this cake is made with olive oil, brown sugar, fresh zucchini, and it is all grated. There's a lot more. There's some spices. There's some in there. It's all grated, tossed together, baked off. So you get this really moist, soft, beautiful cake. And then I'm topping it with a avocado mousse that's simply a little bit of powdered sugar, lime zest and lime juice, and a little bit of salt to balance out these flavors. What I'm doing right now, I'm garnishing it with fresh, beautiful figs. So basically, anytime I have great fruit and it tastes good, I do not like to mess with it too much, because I think that is the hit right there. You don't have to do much. Makes your life a little bit easier. And then a little bit of wildflowers, some wood sorrel that's going to add some acidity, some sunflower that adds some vibrant color to the dish. So everything, I feel like, because this dish is normally served at Emmer and Rye, I feel everything needs to look like a garden, because we represent working with farmers and working with ranchers. So all that we do is about supporting the community and local farms. So all my desserts have that little touch of like flowers and little garnishes that really just makes things look beautiful and pop off the plate. So right now, I think I'm putting in the last touches of the flowers. And then I'm going to finish this dish with dehydrated beet powder. Now, we try to do a, zero carbon footprint as much as we can, and also support local farms and zero waste as much as we can. So having fruits and vegetables from last year is something that we always do, because we ferment them, we make vinegars, we make powders. So this is a fermented beet powder. Basically, we fermented the beets, made a vinegar from it. All the byproduct, we dehydrate it, make a powder, and then we use that as either flavoring in one of the dishes or color. And in this case, I use it as a garnish.
And this is a really great strategy, because so often, we don't really talk about the byproducts of fermentation or preservation, and it's about saving the product originally, but there's a lot more you can do, as you're showing with this dish.
Absolutely. And I'm one of those people that I want to know what a beet tastes like now. I want to know what a beet tastes like 10 days from now, and I want to know what a beet tastes like 5 months from now. Because I think the most important thing as a chef is knowing how to taste. And that's one of the things I like to pass on to all of my employees that work for me and my peers. It's understanding to taste food and what are you tasting, because they are subtle differences. And if you can identify those subtle differences, it strengthens your palate. And when you're creating, you're being able to channel a different level of flavor profile that most people wouldn't know how to express, but you would know how to put it into words.
And this is a great segue for you to talk about parsnip, which was such a revelation. So tell us about the parsnip secrets.
Yeah, parsnip is something really special. I think that there's different, there's different ways. People use parsnips, let's say in the savory application, you would use parsnips for thickening a sauce or, add it because it has like tremendous amount of sweetness. But there's this thing in parsnip, when you taste parsnip and you think like, oh my God, it's really sweet, what you're actually tasting is vanillin, which is the same thing that's present in vanilla. So and vanilla makes things appear like it's much sweeter. So if you think about it, it's the same correlation. So in pastry, when I do have time, I would take parsnips, dehydrate it, and then make a powder from it. Then I would add that as my vanilla in recipes. Now, you do have to add a significant amount more, and it all depends on what you're making because it does have texture to it. So in a cake, it would be fantastic, but in a mousse, it would not be the same. So you do have to understand those different levels. But I normally would use that parsnip powder to add that vanilla extract flavor profile. So we don't have to use any extracts in our food, and we're utilizing as much natural ingredients as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And local ingredients, seasonal ingredient, which obviously vanilla is not, and a cheaper ingredient.
Absolutely. So when you talk about controlling your food costs, I think it all goes hand in hand. As a chef, your food costs, basically your business is built upon that. So if you take a little bit more time and really focus and look at the different ingredients that are available in the season and sometimes out of season that you can preserve, you can actually be able to add more money to your bottom line than you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, on this, I'm going to ask Walter and Ken to rejoin us so we can talk a little bit with them also on this and see if Walter will add a fourth pleasure, adding vegetables to his card.
That we can have in the entree, but this is actually really neat to see vegetables there as part of dessert. Thank you, Tavel.
Yeah.
And I'm actually always curious to hear how chefs react when you present them with this card, Walter. And Tavel, how would you react should you receive one of those? Are chefs open?
I think that there's for me, so when I heard it, I was like, wow, like that's a big challenge because as a pastry chef, you always think about how can you, what are the things that you can combine? And with restraints, you get nervous. So you get shocked first. But then after you think about it, I think that there's ways in which those things can definitely be used. I think my question would be, are you saying chocolate, nuts, and fruit, and that's it completely? Or are you saying I can add an avocado in there? Or I can, what are those parameters?
Yeah, I think the pure, true three pleasures is just those three, and there are lots and lots of ways to put those together. And sometimes just as simple as elegantly having 3 pieces of fruit, 3 nuts, and 3 pieces of chocolate on a plate. That's sort of the French elegantly simple version of it. And then sometimes artistic creations. But I wouldn't mind at all if I got a message back saying I'd like to add some avocado.
Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, because if we had avocado, I could make a mousse. Or if we just want that, what I would do, let me think about something really quick. Let's get some mangoes. I would put some mangoes in the freezer, slice them really thin. I would puree the nuts and the chocolate together to create like a nut butter. And then I would drizzle that over the top of cold fruit.
I'll be there.
This does sound really delicious. And Ken, in terms of what training do you have in place? Because obviously you have an enormous team, right? And you have Chef Pam, your wonderful pastry chef. But I imagine that it takes a lot of work to reconfigure a lot of these recipes and work on the chemistry of the ingredients when you're lowering sugar or changing flours. What is your training system for those big teams?
Yeah, I think our great question. I'll focus on simple, healthy, delicious. So by saying that though, is even though we serve lots of volume and stuff, and we start a small batch, and then our students, they are adventurous, they'll try everything, looks good, and tastes good as well. So our training is actually, once a week, and then before the beginning of each sessions, of the serving, we also have those 5 minutes, get-togethers, and then I think also personalization. Our students love to see us. We finish off the dessert right in front of them, and then at the end of the day, though, is they want that, we talk about that whole wheat chocolate chip cookie, warm, this comfort for them. But in the meantime, you had to throw some of the fruit and then also put some of the nuts and chocolate. They'll love it, So I think I love that 3 pressures. And then, but we will not limit to. I love some avocados, and I think the more we try variety of how ingredients, our customer, the chance that they will love it, and hopefully we'll actually get them for many generations to come.
And of course, the quality of the raw ingredients is really key, right? Especially when you have fewer things. And we have a question in the chat on that from my fam, whom a lot of you know. Throughout Asia, fresh fruit is a big part of the meal and even more important as a snack. So given the improved quality of fresh fruit today, what can we do to encourage more fruit consumption and thus more plant-forward menuing?
Yeah, that's really great. And, I think dessert menus should always have a fresh fruit option on there, like they should have a 3 pleasures option and something more, the 4 or 5 pleasures that Ken is talking about. It's just we're stuck in a rut that if you look at standard menus, almost never are any of those on the dessert menu. And I think customers deserve more choice. And again, the research shows if you give people more choice, more healthy choices, they will eat more of those healthy choices. Not everybody's going to go for those, but it's clearly a way, just putting them on the menu will encourage more consumption. And in quite a few restaurants, of course, if you do ask for a fresh fruit, you can get it, but people shouldn't have to ask. It should be there. It should be nicely presented and enjoyed. I think, thank you, Mai, that's a really good point. Interestingly, that's a traditional Mediterranean dessert as well. So it's sort of our Northern European rut that we're in, I'm afraid, that there's all these unhealthy desserts.
There's also the challenge, though, that pastry chefs, and especially in days of budget tightening, have to justify the existence of their position, right? And so fresh fruits, while wonderful and delicious, don't necessarily justify paying a pastry chef's salary. I wonder what you have to answer to that, Tavel.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Because right now, I think if you pastry chef, it's art, it's craft. I'm sorry, that we believe that we are just as creative as a chef is, right? And the difference is, I think a chef can just put a steak on the grill, add some salt and pepper, and we're like, oh my God, that steak is amazing, and it's the best steak I've ever had. But a pastry chef just put a fresh fruit on a plate. Why am I paying you? Why are you here? So I think that most pastry chefs, what happens is in this creative process, they're going to try to do above and beyond. And I think that's what happens, is that justification of my craft and my work. And normally you find that in young chefs, where they're trying to show all their skills and not really letting the fruit or the vegetable or the fresh milled grain speak for itself. And I think if you can find that balance, not saying one is right or wrong, because everyone can justify why they're doing what they're doing, but I do think it's up to us as leaders to educate people on that we do appreciate simplicity. We do appreciate value for fruit and vegetable. We do appreciate seasonality. I don't want to come to your restaurant and ask you for a strawberry sorbet when it's not in season. Like, let me respect the fact that it's fig season. And you know what? I'm going to buy that fig dessert to show you how much I care about what you're doing. Like, those are those little subtleties that I think can shift the market a little bit.
And we have unfortunately almost reached the end of our time. So we will ask our panelists to give us their takeaways in 6 words or less. But first, I'll make a few announcements about the upcoming break. I want to start by thanking our sponsor, Oatly. And today they organize a special culinary demo on innovative comfort classics for plant-based menus, which you'll find under the session tab on the left. The networking tab allows you to have a 4-minute video interaction with someone randomly selected, and we've provided a chat, a question of the week in the chat to help the conversation get started. So look at that. And also visit our sponsors to see culinary demos, trend presentations, and insightful videos under the Expo tab. And remember that engaging in these activities enters you in a raffle to win cookbooks, and if you participate all 6 weeks, a raffle to win registration and travel for next year's Menus of Change in Hyde Park, New York. All right, and now let's hear everyone's 6 words in the order in which you presented. So let's start with Walter.
I'm going to go back to my card. Fruits, nuts, dark chocolate, nothing more.
If you have a strong message, you should stick with it.
That's right.
Ken, what are your 6 words?
Yeah, after listening to Tavel, I just wrote something down here. I think something embrace alternative ingredients for flavorful results.
Wow, that is fantastic. I'm gonna say, yeah, right. I'm gonna say, eat fruits, vegetables, in season, always. That's that.
That's very good. And you don't see the chats, Tavel, but you had a lot of congratulations in there, so people were rooting for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My own 6 words are reduce sugar in all recipes, because it always feels like a good starting point.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Walter, Ken, and Tavel. This was wonderful. We could keep talking about this forever, and I'm grateful to have had this time with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy the break,
in Hyde Park next year.
Yes, in Hyde Park.